Thanksgiving is on its way, so I thought I'd make a mega cake that's perfect for Thanksgiving. I'm making an apple pie mega cake. This has been on my mega cake bucket list for years.
There's also nothing more American than apple pie, they say.
That's actually true. I mean, there's probably a few things, but apple pie is up there. So even when the inside of the pie tastes good, you want that crust to be good. So in this case, I'm using the pie dough to make discs to put in this cake, but of course you can make a pie with this pie dough, as the name states, pie dough. This recipe makes the dough for one pie, and I like to make an all butter pie dough. I'm not a fan of shortening. I don't think this is a secret if you know me. I am a fan of butter. I love the way butter tastes. I love the flavor of butter when it's in my mouth. I love the deliciousness of butter. Those are the same thing.
I didn't even catch that.
This is a really easy pie dough. It has 5 ingredients. You can make it by hand in a bowl, but I like making it in a food processor. So to make this pie dough, you place your flour, sugar, and salt into your food processor, and then I like to just turn it on and make sure those are well combined. The next thing you do is cut your chilled butter into cubes, and you wanna add these cubes to the food processor, but you wanna make sure they don't just clump together. So what I like to do is add a few cubes, toss them in the flour with a rubber spatula, add some more, toss them until I've added all the cubes. At this point, you can pulse your food processor. So what's happening now is that butter is being broken down into smaller crumbs and being coated by the flour mixture. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm acting out the food processor. Do you like this? The final step is adding ice cold water into the food processor while it's running. And this just adds a bit more moisture and makes those crumbs come together as one. Now you can turn this whole mixture out onto a lightly floured surface, quickly knead it together, and I like to divide it in 2 and form them into 2 discs, wrap them tightly in plastic, and chill that dough before rolling. And I made more than 1 pie dough shells just in case. Cengiz ate an entire little pie dough shell. Just an empty pie dough crust.
That sounds like something you do at like rock bottom of your life.
Yeah, it does.
Let me tell you what happened, Justin. For once, Yolanda made something I like in this kitchen.
So you don't like my other cake? The ice is getting thin for Cengiz, in case you haven't picked up. It's getting real thin. So now I have 4 pie dough discs wrapped tightly and chilling in my fridge. In the meantime, I'm gonna make some crumble. My crumble also has 5 ingredients, and chilled butter is one of those important ingredients. So crumble is made in pretty much the exact same way as pie dough. The only difference is you don't knead it together to form one dough. Again, I'm making this in my food processor, and the first things I'm gonna add to the processor are flour, brown sugar, cinnamon, and salt. I'm gonna turn it on and let those ingredients combine, and then I'm going to add my chunks of chilled butter the same way I did to my pie dough, coating them in the flour mixture as I add them. And now all I have to do is pulse that mixture until it resembles coarse crumbs. There's no water in this mixture. This is enough. We want it to be a bit drier than pie dough. And now I can turn it out into a bowl. And a good way to test if it's ready is if you grab a handful and you squeeze it, it should remain in a big clump or cluster. Then it's ready. So normally if you were making a pie, what you would do is squeeze that crumble together and then sprinkle it onto the top of your pie. But I need to bake this crumble on its own. I have 2 lined baking trays, and I'm just going to crumble my crumble onto the baking trays. Now, if you bake crumble on a pie, it has nowhere to go. So as it sort of melts and spreads, it stays on top of the pie. But because I'm baking it on a tray and there's so much butter in it, you will see it bubble and spread. So halfway through baking, I opened my oven. Using a wooden spoon, I tossed the crumble around, because what I'm looking for is little crunchy bits that I can sprinkle into my cake. Guys, this is gonna be a battle. Who likes pie with a crust on top, and who likes pie with crumble on top? I really enjoy crumble, but guys, let us know. Can we make this like an MMA match? This weekend, it's crust versus crumble in the best pie-off you've ever seen. It's time to bake our pie dough discs. One by one, I'm rolling out each disc of pie dough. So I'm using a cake pan that's one size smaller than my cake layers, upside down on top and cutting out a perfect circle. And then I'm gonna transfer that circle onto a baking tray. So now I have 4 perfectly circular discs of pie dough on 2 trays, but I wanna make sure that while I bake it, it's not misshapen. Every time I say misshapen, I laugh because my husband and I once had a full argument because he said misshapen is not a word and then looked it up. And then for a while, because I was right, I tried to use it in every sentence.
Is there any word you hate?
Is there any word I hate? No. No, I'm joking. No, I gotta think about that. No, there's no word that really bothers me.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been bothered by words.
Oh, scab! Scab! So what I'm going to do is, before baking, I'm gonna lay circles of parchment directly on top of the pie dough, and then I'm going to lay cake pans on top and pour pie weights into the cake pan. So this is just holding down the pie dough. Pie weights are something that you can buy, but if you don't have them, you can use raw beans of any type and pour them in. I'm going to bake this pie dough at 350 degrees for 20 minutes. Keep a close eye. We actually captured footage of the pie dough moving. This is better than UFO footage. This is... And now that the 20 minutes are up, we're gonna carefully remove our trays from the oven, remove those hot cake pans with the weights inside, pull off the parchment. So I just quickly whisked 1 egg with a little bit of cream inside. I'm gonna brush it onto the top of these pie dough discs, and then I'm gonna sprinkle raw turbinado sugar, which is basically just coarse sugar, onto the surface. Now I can return these discs to the oven and bake them for 5 to 10 minutes more. I wanna see them become nice and golden brown and crispy. Okay, well, it's time to cake it. It's time to get to cake. The first thing I did is I baked layers of my vanilla spice cake. That's right, you heard it here first. Vanilla spice cake. I actually show you how to make this cake in my free Holiday Baking Basics program. Check it out. The first thing I'm going to do is level them, remove the caramelization from the bottom, and layer them. Now, from the surface, it almost looks like they're not vanilla spice, it just looks like they're vanilla. But when I layer them and open them up, spicy. Oh, I'm gonna do something to this cake you won't believe. I'm going to leave the caramelization around the sides because it matches the tone of all the other apple pie ingredients. I baked 3 cakes in total, so I have 6 layers of cake. I may only end up using 4 of them. It's now time to simple syrup all my layers of cake and let that soak in. I need to prepare the apple part of this apple pie mega cake. What I want to do to soften these apples up and give them the feeling of a cooked apple while maintaining their shape is saute them in butter.
Butter's back.
Butter is back. I love it for its flavor, its taste, the butteriness. So what you want is a nice saute pan, butter on hand, and you're just gonna heat that butter and lay out 1 layer of slices. You don't wanna pile the apples on top of each other. After the apples have sauteed for a bit, you can use tongs to flip over each slice. You wanna see them lightly brown, lightly caramelized, and I used about 8 apples here. I wanna have enough to fan within the cake. As your apples are ready, you can use your tongs and just lay them out on a baking tray, either with a silicone mat or parchment paper. We just want them to cool nicely. Here's the thing. I thought about adding sugar to the apples, but I didn't want the cake to be too sweet because the cake, the buttercream, everything else has sugar. Also, I didn't want to relive my McDonald's apple pie nightmare. Because when you add sugar to fruit, it makes their juices come out. I discovered that the apples are melting the fondant from underneath. And I'm really upset and I think it looks hideous. Why don't we just end the video here? So I wanted them to be softened and sauteed and tasty, but not so juicy that I'd have to go there. I didn't want the apples to be so juicy that when I added them to my cake, it would have made all the other components soggy, especially the pie crust and the crumble. For this last batch of sauteed apples, these are gonna be the apples that I put into my mini pie. So I'm gonna saute them in the same way, but when they're done, I'm gonna sprinkle on some cinnamon and some turbinado sugar. It's fine if you stir them about. I want to cook them, I want the sugar to dissolve, and I want them to brown a bit more, like pie filling. I've decided to fill this cake with cinnamon buttercream. So I'm just going to stir ground cinnamon into my Italian meringue buttercream. I like to do this to taste, but you don't want the cinnamon to overpower. Now all of the components are ready and none of them are misshapen. The first thing I do is put down a vanilla spice cake layer. Now I'm going to spread an even layer of cinnamon buttercream. And then I'm gonna very carefully lift one of my pie dough discs onto the cake. It fits perfectly. I live for these moments. The next thing I'm going to do is place my cooked apples, but they're completely cool. I'm gonna sort of fan them into the cake right on top of that sugared pie dough. I'm putting some of my cinnamon buttercream in a piping bag fitted with a round tip, and I'm going to pipe the buttercream onto the cake. So I pipe around the edge and then a couple of circles in the middle. Now I'm going to sprinkle on my crumble bits. I could not resist these crumble bits. We were eating the crumble bits in the background like chips. I've invented the next snack.
This is like legit a brilliant idea.
Somebody's gonna steal this. We're gonna see this on Dragon's Den because I actually came up with a brilliant idea.
It's brilliant.
Would you not? It's brilliant. New business idea. I like this. The crumble is on. This cake smells incredible. And now I can place my next layer of cake on top. The truth is, when I thought about building this cake, I was gonna alternate pie dough and crumble. But because all my pie dough discs baked so beautifully and none of them broke and I had all this crumble, so you guessed it, I'm gonna continue building the cake in this manner. So I do this 3 more times. So there's 4 layers of cake and 3 layers of pie dough, apples, crumble, cinnamon, buttercream goodness. While my cake is chilling, I'm going to color some more buttercream for the outside. I'm coloring my whole egg buttercream. I'm gonna reserve a little bit of my batch, about a ½ cup, and put it aside. And the rest I'm going to color red. I'm coloring my buttercream with 2 different tones of red gel food coloring. This is a Thanksgiving cake, so I don't wanna take it to Christmas level red. I don't want it to be more of a natural tone of red like an apple would be. So I'm just gonna keep coloring until I'm happy. Now with the remaining ½ cup that I set aside, I wanna color this yellow. The good news is it's already yellow, but I just wanna deepen it a little more for the highlights I'm gonna add to this cake. Now I'm removing my cake from the fridge and I'm going to ice it in this lovely red buttercream. I am gonna use a bench scraper to smooth the cake around the sides. And then I'm going to just take my spatula in for a landing and smooth the top. For this next step, I wasn't even sure it was gonna work out, but I knew what I wanted to do. So your cake has to be really chilled, and then you're gonna take a small offset spatula and just add patches of that yellow buttercream here and there. And now you're gonna take the bench scraper and go around, thinning out those patches. So you know, like the natural variation of color that you see on an apple? That's what I was looking for. And I was really happy, I liked it. So this cake needs some decoration. It needs a feature. So I've rolled out some green fondant. I made myself a little apple template and I'm gonna cut out some flat apples. I also have dark green fondant and brown fondant. I'm making leaves from the dark green fondant, just rolling it out, leaf cutter. I have a little leaf mold that makes an impression, and then I'm gonna pinch the end and set those aside. And for the stem of the apple, I'm just rolling my brown fondant into a long cord, cutting it at equal lengths, and then just neatening up the edges of the stem. I thought I was gonna add a bunch of apples around the cake, and then we decided that one was good. Just gonna gently place the apple on the side of the cake, add a stem, add a leaf. Here's the thing, Granny Smiths are the Beyonce of apples, and this is, don't even argue. Macintosh are the like Drake of apples. So Canadian, undeniably, it's an Ontario apple. It's good.
Drake has been around for a minute and he's done a lot, but I truly wonder, has anyone compared him to an apple?
No, which is why he should truly reach out and collab. I also need to prepare a tiny little pie crust bottom for the top of this cake. I knew I wouldn't be able to just bake a mini apple pie and then get it out of a pan in perfect condition. So I'm going to sort of cheat my way to making all the parts of a mini apple pie. I'm rolling this out into the mini pie plate, and then I'm gonna use scissors to trim away the excess that hangs over. Now I'm just gonna pinch the edges of the pie crust for a nice design. I'm gonna make 2 mini crusts just in case. I made 2 in case one broke, but one didn't break, so Cengiz ate it. In order for this pie dough to keep its shape in the oven and not collapse, what I'm going to do is flip this pie shell over, and I'm gonna bake it upside down at first. And that's gonna help it keep its shape. Now my little pie shells are ready. I can take them out, and I'm just gonna let them completely cool. I have my baked pie shell. What I'm gonna do is just spoon those apples into the shell, pack them in nicely. Then I'm gonna spoon some crumble on top. And to finish it, I like to sift icing sugar on the top of the pie. And I'm going to add some lovely fall-inspired sprinkles. This How to Cake and Sprinkle medley is called Gobble Till You Wobble. If that's not Thanksgiving, I don't know what is. If you're a Sprinkle Service member, you already have these. You should make this cake for Thanksgiving. Full circle. I just lightly sprinkled the sprinkles around the top edge of the cake, and then I added a few down at the bottom. I put together a free holiday baking tutorial. Say it one more time.
I put together a free holiday baking program with A to Z video tutorials.
Holiday free.
Are you okay?
Oh, no, I'm not.
Here, this is how we're gonna do it, Yolanda. Yolanda, have you put together a free holiday baking basics program?
I have. I've put together a free holiday baking basics program.
Does this program involve A to Z videos that walk you through your must-have holiday recipes?
Why, what a good question. Yes, it does, Jocelyn.
This program is entirely free, right?
This program is entirely free.
And includes over 16 of your amazing core recipes.
Exactly.
And can people click to sign up in the link in the corner?
Yes, it's right there actually. You can click to sign up.
And can they also click below in the description?
Yes, you can also click below in the description. Look at that. This program is completely free, much like all the knowledge I've imparted on you during this video. If this wasn't enough cake for you, then click here for more cake.